Hey guys, this is Dave Cummings again from Point Loma Nazarene University. This is part 2, episode 2 in a multi-part series on introducing you to the scientific literature. In the first part, we just kind of went through the basic anatomy, if you will, of a scientific paper. Talked a little bit about the idea of peer-reviewed literature versus non-peer-reviewed and the trustworthiness of peer-reviewed literature. What I want to do in this particular episode is focus on the title and the abstract. These are very, very helpful, and in many cases, that's as far as you get when you're searching through lots of papers. When I'm looking for a paper on a particular topic for a particular purpose, I'll be searching the databases with various keywords, and if I get hits that look interesting, I'm going to start with the title. And the title often will make or break it for me. So in this case, characterization of 4 multi-drug resistance plasmids captured from the sediments of an urban coastal wetland. It's very brief, very concise. It's not a full sentence. Sometimes people will write their titles in full sentences, but editors usually discourage that. So what you're looking for is a combination of keywords that will tell you if this article is part of the story you're interested in learning about, right? So I see characterization. That tells me that there weren't hypothesis testing experiments taking place, but this is going to be descriptive. What's it describing? 4 plasmids, okay, not just one, but 4 of them. They're multi-drug resistance plasmids. So these are plasmids, I have to know what plasmids are. These are plasmids that are carrying resistance genes to multiple classes of antibiotics. And then it tells me they were captured, they were isolated from sediments of an urban city coastal wetland. So I need to be, if I'm going to read the rest of this article, if I'm going to go past this title, I've got to be absolutely sure that these are the keywords I'm interested in, that this is what I'm after. I'm interested in plasmids, I'm interested in drug resistance, and it's interesting to me that these plasmids didn't come from infections or clinical collections, but they came from wetland sediments out there in nature, right? If those key concepts intrigue me or fit what it is I'm searching for, then I'm going to move on. And what am I going to move on to? I'm going to move on to the abstract. The abstract is essentially an executive summary. You can think of it like that, where it hits the core methods, the main results. There's a brief introduction to put it in context. Usually that's 1 or 2 sentences. And then there's a brief discussion. Usually that's 1, maybe 2 sentences. Most of what's going to be in that abstract is going to be the methodology and the key findings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this abstract and decide, is this what I'm after? Okay, the title brought me in. The title got my attention. But now that I read the abstract, are they using methods that are interesting or appropriate or somehow relate to what I'm trying to do? And did what they find intrigue me? Does it challenge things I thought I understood? Does it add to my growing knowledge in a particular area? Does it support things that we're doing in our research in my own laboratory? And so I'm going to read through that abstract carefully. Now, I think I mentioned it in the first episode. You don't ever want to rely just on the abstract alone. You don't want to read the abstract and say, wow, I know all this wonderful stuff. I'm going to now go off and do research based on this. If it is going to influence you and your research, you're going to want to then dig in more. The abstract is really just the advertisement. Here's what's inside. Don't just take the advertisement as if it's the final say, right? You want to say, okay, the advertisement looks like this is pretty good. Now I'm going to dig into the real paper. I'm going to check the data. I'm going to look at the methods and see if it actually makes sense to me. So we've got a title and we've got an abstract, and we're going to do some triage on all the papers we're interested in by starting with those 2. And even if you already know you're going to read the entire paper, and you don't need to be convinced based on the title and the abstract. The title sets the big picture for you, okay? Helps your brain to narrow down what we're talking about from all the infinite possibilities. The abstract then really hones that in. And that's really important for learning, because then when you dive into the details of the paper, your brain has a hook. It's got a place to put all this information, because now you know where you're at. It's like looking at a map. Right? You don't want to just be dropped off in the middle of nowhere blindly and start driving. You want to know where you are and how you got there before you start looking at the details around you. And that's what the title and the abstract are all about.